Hey, welcome to the first episode of the And Chill podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the movies The Amateur and Drop, and I hope you're excited to talk about it. Let's get to it. Before I get started, I'm going to give a very slight disclaimer. I'm going to try my best to not completely spoil the movie. Like I said in the introduction, I do still want y'all to see it, but sometimes when you do a review for a movie, it's a little bit harder to not spoil it. But I promise you I'm gonna do my best to not spoil it, just to give you a heads up. Another thing, and no, this isn't sponsored, but if you are an avid cinephile like I, and you do want to see all the movies that I'm talking about, I highly suggest going to your favorite movie theater and figuring out what rewards program they have. I use AMC A-List and I love it. I get to see 3 movies a week and don't have to worry about paying a fee. I know that Regal has their own, and so does the Alamo Drafthouse. Wherever you stay, whatever your home theater is, go ahead and look into the rewards program, and I promise you, you will become a cinephile too. Anyway, back to the topic. On this show, I'd like to give a chill summary, which basically is just my summary of different movies and TV shows that I talk about. Yeah, I know the internet gives you a summary, but isn't it more fun if it's coming from me? Here's a chill summary of the movie The Amateur. A remake of the 1981 Robert Little film of the same title, The Amateur follows Charlie Heller, a CIA decoder who just found out his wife was brutally murdered during a work trip in Paris. Adamant to avenge her death, Charlie asks for assistance from his employer, the CIA, to teach him how to take down the killers himself. The catch? Charlie is not a killer. First, I never even heard of the 1981 The Amateur, so I definitely went into this movie blind. I kind of saw a few trailers, but honestly, once I saw Rami Malek and Lawrence Fishburne were in it, I just had to go. And to be honest with you, the whole avenging your spouse's death is a little bit predictable. So you can kind of have an idea of the direction that this movie is going, but all in all, you're still going to be entertained the whole time. Although it is predictable, it doesn't take away from the fact that Rami Malek actually gives a stellar performance. Now, the script isn't perfect, but he does what he needs to do. The point of Charlie Heller is that, well, he's a nerd, and he has to look like a nerd. He's such a nerd that he's scared to pull a trigger on his own. So yeah, I do feel like Rami Malek fit this perfectly, and he executes the role phenomenally. Then again, I did not see the first one, so that's that. I know that this wasn't intentionally comedic, but the way that they had Charlie killing off his enemies felt little Final Destination style, which to me makes it a bit funny. But then again, I don't know what they were going for. One of his enemies is allergic to pollen, and during one of her allergy tests, he pushes pollen through the vents, I guess. She essentially almost dies, but his heart of gold takes over and he lets her go. But she keeps running and running and running until she runs to the street and gets hit by a car. Not funny, haha, but funny dang. Then another instance was he knew that this guy swims at night in a beautiful glass pool that sits atop 2 buildings. And what did he do? He installed a system that pressurized and depressurized the glass. So at the push of a button, it was able to crack up and break completely. And then the guy falls to his death. Again, not directly killing them, but he still has his hands in it. Another thing that I want to point out that may just be me, I did feel that Lawrence Fishburne's character was a little bit irrelevant. Now, I do understand that he was a buffer between the CIA and Charlie Heller, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel like the role really needed to be there. I honestly feel like the story would have been identical without it. Yeah, there was a scene where he's fighting, but it didn't really feel like much. Honestly, Lawrence Fishburne's character gives me the same villain vibe that Mr. Milchick gives on Severance. If you know, you know. Now, I am an avid Letterboxer. I do feel like it's important to maintain a visual diary of all the movies that I watch. So this is what I wrote for my 3.5-star rating for The Amateur. Although I feel like the typical idea of avenging the death of a loved one is played out, I did enjoy the route they took to make him inexperienced. I also appreciated that he did not directly kill his enemies, and the Final Destination style deaths made it enjoyable too. Downside is I felt like the ending could have been a lot better, but the final scene sets up nicely for a character arc in a sequel. I have a video on Rotten Tomatoes that I am going to link somewhere on the screen, but I do want to give you a brief introduction of what Rotten Tomatoes ratings are. Because I know you always see it on previews for movies, but you may not know the difference between a tomato meter and a popcorn meter. So let me briefly explain it to you, but also watch the video just so you can see it. The tomato meter is actually depicted by official critics. These are people that have large followings, have been consistently critiquing films for 2 years. So I know that you may think that I qualify for it because I've had this channel for about 3-4 years, but due to my inconsistency in my followers count, I don't technically qualify for a tomato meter critic. But because I am an audience member, I do qualify for the popcorn meter, which is just people like you and me. People who like going to the movies and like talking about it. You don't have to have a follower count. You don't have to be consistent with posting. It's just, do you like the movie, yes or no? Let's talk about it. So that's just some quick tidbits about the difference between a tomato meter and a popcorn meter. So when you see movies have like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, what that really means is of the amount of certified critics that actually took the time to watch and review this movie, 100% of them like this movie. You get what I'm saying? At the time of At the time of filming this video, out of 160 critics for the tomato meter, 61% of them actually enjoyed the movie. Seems a little crazy, but at the end of the day, y'all have to remember that these film critics kind of watch movies a little bit differently than the average person. Now, I do feel like I watch movies the same way a film critic would, but I also feel like I can separate the film side from the actual regular moviegoer side. That rating was based on 160 official critics. Of the over 2,500 people who decided to review this film on Rotten Tomatoes, regular people like you and me, they gave it 88%. Like I said, perception is everything. Don't always trust Rotten Tomatoes because you may feel differently than how the critics feel. Just some word of advice. All in all, I did enjoy this movie. Like I said, I did give it 3.5 stars. If you're one of those people who like to root for the underdog, then this movie is for you. But if you're expecting a shoot 'em up, bang bang action flick, I would skip this one. Rami Malek does what he needs to do. Lawrence Fishburne is there for decoration. But this film is fun, and if your expectations are low, you can genuinely enjoy it. One thing that bridges together the amateur and drop is the heavy use of technology that kind of has you hyper fixated on the way that you're being watched and utilizing your cell phone, your iPad, or any security cameras that you may walk past. So, without further ado, here's my chill summary of Drop. Years after the gruesome death of her husband, Violet, a single mom of one, goes on her first date after 3 years. She and her date, Henry, have been communicating via a dating app for the past 3 months, and with the motivation of her sister, Violet finally has the confidence to take their connection a step further. After receiving multiple drops during her time on this date, Violet must follow the rules of the mystery sender in order to protect her son and sister from an intruder. The main thing I found interesting about this movie is that the director, Christopher Landon, did Freaky, the horror spinoff for Freaky Friday, wrote the entire Paranormal Activity franchise, and also wrote one of my favorite movies of 2025, Hard Eyes, which, if you haven't seen it, I would honestly make it a point to go check it out. Knowing this, I didn't go into Drop thinking I was about to get a horror film despite it being a Blumhouse production. I kind of went into it like I went into Freaky and Hard Eyes, expecting something that came with a little bit of laughs, kept you on the edge of your seat, more so a thriller than a horror. But the honest truth is, horror to me may not be horror to you and vice versa. So please don't take my opinion to heart. If things like getting anonymous airdrops to your phone and people threatening your child and sending you videos of an intruder in your house attempting to kill your sister and your son puts fear in your heart, then by any means, this is definitely a horror film. But if you're somebody like me who kind of takes everything with a grain of salt, this is more so a lesson. Although I did personally enjoy this film, I also don't see it doing too well during the awards circuit. Just because although it was good and a lot of the movies that have come out since February have been good, I just feel like there's so much competition that it won't really measure up. Keep in mind, it is only April. But the editing did stand out to me because the way that they were able to display the text messages to us, the audience members, while also being able to see Violet's emotions as she's reading this was pretty top notch. And the text was big enough that you didn't have to squint to try to figure out what it said. They actually had it really big behind her, and just thought that was really funny. Megan Fahey also does a really good acting job. I did recognize her from season 2 of White Lotus, but I feel like this one, she was really able to showcase the range of emotions that she has. Versus in season 2 of White Lotus, I felt like she was just a dingy wife who was just kind of doing whatever she needed to do to please her husband. But this one, you're able to really see her emotions, and I do hope that a lot of filmmakers and directors see this performance and put her in something. She really could be the next big actress. The premise of this film feels like a murder mystery, but without the murder. I mean, yeah, there is the death at the beginning, but you kind of see what really went down and you really understand why she responds the way that she does. Because I will say that this movie will have you screaming at the screen because some of the steps that she takes is just so irritating. But it wouldn't be a movie if that was the case. Now, although I did like it, I did have a few cons that I feel like y'all should be made aware of. Just in case you see it, you can at least be aware of it. Although the movie is 100 minutes, I promise you it feels like you're in there for about 2.5 to 3 hours. The sequencing drags, the storyline drags, but I mean, you're sitting there entertained because you do want to know, girl, who is sending you this and are you going to be able to save your son? Another thing I wasn't really a fan of was the reasoning behind the drops. I'm not going to really expose that because like I said, I do want you to go see it. But when it all comes together and it is revealed why she's receiving these drops, it just feels like, okay, girl, she was just collateral and it just didn't feel relevant. I did appreciate the slow reveal of the death of her husband. I think that it kind of just puts into perspective her fears, and you're really able to empathize with her a lot better once the full story comes forward. Don't attack me, but I also gave this movie a 3.5-star rating on Letterboxd. It was good. Like I said, go in there with low expectations and you too can give it a 3.5-star rating. But here's what I said. This movie was a lot better than I expected it to be. I do feel that it was longer than it needed to be, but I can understand why they elected the route they did with the length. A nice mystery flick that could be deemed predictable if you use your brain. I enjoyed the way the text was shown to the audience, made it fun and interactive. Also, cinematography was phenomenal, but I felt was too good for the storyline. On Rotten Tomatoes, this did receive a better rating, 84% tomato meter and 80% popcorn, which means that the critics kind of preferred this more than the audience members. The difference isn't much, but cinematically, I do think that this movie was a bit more pleasing than it was story-wise, which basically means to the typical critic, yeah, this movie was great. To an audience member, this movie was just a little slow. It's evident that both of these films are a fun watch. However, you do kind of have to go in there with low expectations to truly enjoy it for what they are. In addition to Hard Eyes, Companion, Black Bag, The Amateur and Drop do add to the slate of 2025 films that I feel are slowly but surely bringing back real cinema. That's all I have for y'all today. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's show. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this video. And go ahead and click the next episode because it's already posted. Have a good day, y'all.